There's a man in Atlanta named Marcus. He's 34 years old, works a full-time job in logistics, and by most standards, he's doing okay. He makes about $58,000 a year. Not rich, not struggling, just in the middle. But here's the strange part. Every month, Marcus feels broke. Not, I can't eat broke, not, I'm about to be homeless broke, but that quiet, constant pressure. The kind where your paycheck comes in and within days it feels like it's already gone. Bills, groceries, gas, a few small purchases here and there, and suddenly there's nothing left. Marcus used to think the solution was simple: make more money. So he tried. He picked up side gigs. He drove for delivery apps on weekends. He even got a small raise last year. But somehow, nothing really changed. The pressure stayed. Until something unexpected happened. Marcus didn't get a new job. He didn't start a business. He didn't invest in some high-risk stock. Instead, he made a few changes that most people would call boring. And that's when everything started to shift. Because what Marcus discovered, what most people never realize, is this: the habits that actually build wealth aren't exciting. They're not flashy. They don't go viral. They're quiet, repetitive, and honestly, kind of boring. But they work. And more importantly, they work especially well for people starting from behind. See, in the United States, the median wealth of black households is still significantly lower than that of white households. According to data from the Federal Reserve, the typical white family holds about 6 to 8 times more wealth than the typical black family. That gap isn't just about income, it's about systems, history, access, and opportunity. But within that system, there's something else at play too. Something more subtle: behavior. Not in a judgmental way, not in a just work harder kind of way, but in the small, daily decisions that quietly shape financial outcomes over time. And this is where things get interesting. Because most people are taught to focus on big moves, big investments, big risks, big wins. But the data tells a different story. A study from the National Bureau of Economic Research found that consistent saving, even in small amounts, has a stronger long-term impact on wealth than irregular large investments. Another report from Vanguard showed that people who automate their savings are far more likely to build wealth over time than those who rely on willpower. In other words, the people who win financially are not the ones making the most exciting moves. They're the ones doing the same simple things over and over again. Marcus didn't learn this overnight. At first, he resisted it because boring doesn't feel powerful. Cutting unnecessary subscriptions? Boring. Sending $50 automatically into savings every week? Boring. Cooking at home instead of eating out? Extremely boring. But Marcus tried it anyway. He started small. He set up an automatic transfer, just $200 a month into a savings account. Not a huge amount, not life-changing, at least not immediately. Then he did something else. He stopped checking his bank account every day. That might sound strange, but there's a reason behind it. Psychologists have found that constantly monitoring your money can increase anxiety and lead to impulsive decisions. It creates a cycle where every small fluctuation feels urgent, which often leads to emotional spending. Instead, Marcus started checking his finances once a week, calmly, intentionally, and something shifted. He felt in control. Not because he had more money, but because he had a system. And that's the part most people miss. The financial system most of us are living in is designed for spending, not saving. Think about it. Your paycheck hits your account, and within seconds, companies are ready to take their share. Subscriptions renew automatically. Ads follow you online. Credit cards make it easy to spend money you don't have yet. Everything is built to make spending effortless. But saving? Saving requires friction. Unless you remove that friction. That's what Marcus did. He made saving automatic and spending intentional. And over time, the results started to show. After 6 months, Marcus had saved a little over $1,200, not a huge amount, but something he'd never been able to hold on to before. After a year, it was closer to $3,000.
And more importantly, something else changed. His stress level dropped. Because financial pressure isn't just about numbers, it's about uncertainty. When you don't have a cushion, every unexpected expense feels like a crisis: a flat tire, a medical bill, a sudden repair. But when you have even a small buffer, those same situations become manageable. That's the hidden power of boring habits. They don't just build money, they build stability. And stability changes how you think. There's a concept in behavioral economics called scarcity mindset. When resources are limited, your brain focuses on short-term survival. You make decisions that solve immediate problems, even if they hurt you long-term. It's not a lack of discipline, it's how the brain is wired. But when you create even a small sense of abundance, like having a savings buffer, your thinking expands. You start making decisions based on the future, not just the present. Marcus began to notice this in his own life. He stopped saying yes to every expense, not because he couldn't afford it, but because he didn't want to disrupt his system. He started planning purchases instead of reacting to them. And eventually, he did something he never thought he could do. He started investing. Not in a dramatic way, no risky bets, no get-rich-quick strategies, just consistent automatic contributions into a simple index fund. Again, boring. But over time, those contributions began to grow. And that's when the final piece clicked. Wealth isn't built in moments of excitement. It's built in moments of consistency. The problem is, consistency doesn't feel rewarding in the short term. There's no dopamine hit from saving $50. No one celebrates you for skipping a purchase. There's no applause for cooking at home. But those small, invisible decisions compound, quietly, relentlessly, until one day you look up and your life is different. Marcus isn't rich today, but he's not stuck anymore. He has savings, he has investments, he has options. And that's what real financial power looks like. Not flashy, not loud, but steady. So, here's the takeaway. If you're waiting for a big break, you might be waiting a long time. But if you build boring habits, automating your savings, controlling your spending, investing consistently, you're building something much more powerful. A system that works even when you don't feel motivated. Because in the end, the people who become unstoppable with money aren't the ones chasing excitement. They're the ones who mastered the boring. And that's exactly why they win.